they are fired from VLSs or vertical launch systems. So if this would erase, that would be awesome. Fingers crossed. Nope, will this one erase? This one seems a bit watery. Nope, it's going to smirk. Just here. But the way it works, as you see here, it launches straight up and then it would go off into the direction that it needs to. The benefits of launching missiles vertically is you can launch them in any direction. So traditional launchers will have the launchers positioned at an angle. That's true of the THAAD missile system, the Patriot missile system, and other systems that we'll be getting to shortly. But the Aegis launches vertically, so you can hit any target in any direction, which is extremely advantageous for defense. So, let's see if we can get a short video to work here. No Madison accounts. Why?
What is the name of that video? I can try to unlock it.
Attack on Aegis.
You could sign out and sign back in.
That's true. Here we go. All right,
What?
so.
You haven't played World of Warships yet? Why the hell not?
The Berg.
Alright, so ignore the talking puppet.
To discover the enemy on its crash.
Here we go.
By far the most numerous ship class.
So what they're showing here is the radar arrays and the vertical launch systems positioned on many of our frigates. The purple and pink would be our radar arrays. These are the three more high definition radar arrays used for giving missiles or our missile interceptors finer precision targeting once they get more towards the terminal phase of their intercept, which we'll get to in a minute. And the pink are a bit more of their search radars used to find incoming threats before the purple radars kind of focus on them. This is the 75 millimeter gun, or sorry, 127 millimeter gun on the front of the frigate. And again, all this varies from ship to ship. Aegis is not a ship, it's a thing that can be put on a ship. So Aegis class ships can range from frigates to destroyers to land-based systems. It doesn't need to be on a ship. It almost always is, but we can put Aegis on shore if we want to. It's called Aegis ashore. And we have the vertical launch tubes in the front and rear of the vessel. So essentially what can happen is, first the 127 millimeter gun can be used as a point defense system to shoot missiles out of the sky, similar to a phalanx system, which we'll get to later. But mainly we'll be using the MK41 vertical launch systems, or VLSs, to take care of any incoming threats. So we'll go forward. Let's see here. This is aircraft intersection, which is real cool, but we're not going up to naval warfare here, so we're going to be talking mainly about ballistic missiles.
They would fly under the horizon chain.
So horizon, what they're talking about there is the radar horizon. So this is why we need satellites. This one doesn't work very well. Here we go. So the Earth is a sphere, duh. But because of that, we have some unique technical difficulties trying to see things on the other side of the sphere, right? So if you have a radar here, right, just represented by that lollipop, and you have a missile coming this way, the radar can't see it until it crosses what's called the radar horizon. So you'll have the curvature of the Earth, which he will be showing here shortly, that blocks your visual on missiles coming over the horizon. You can't see those missiles until they cross your radar horizon with any kind of radar you have. So as you can see here, that missile is now in radar horizon. But if it were behind the Earth over here, the ship would have no idea it's coming. This is why we have infrared satellites that detect the initial launch of SLBMs, ICBMs, and cruise missiles. They're not that useful for naval engagements because the missiles fly so fast, but for, say, continent-on-continent warfare, the satellites are extremely useful because they give the radars advanced notice that something's coming in the general position to look in the sky. If you're observing an entire planet, having the general position of what's coming at you is very useful when you're trying to actually lock down on it. So there's the radar horizon.
If the missiles are all coming from a single direction,
so this is the missile that we usually use with
supersonic
Aegis.
attack missiles
If it would
could be
show.
programmed by an evolved sea
So
spare.
the Evolved Sea Sparrow missile is in service since 2004, as you can clearly see. The range is quite limited, but this is typically for sea defense and defense of the actual vessel itself. But when intercepting ICBMs, we use a different kind of missile, usually, which is the VMD SM-3, which I have on the slideshow. We'll get to that. And again, I'm sorry for all the acronyms. It's a lot to take in, and you will forget
Aero
it.
missiles
But the important thing to notice here
or more
is that
missiles to bring down
missile interception is an art, not a science.
mechanical arc launchers, previous
The
ships,
problem with missile
firing
interception is
vehicles.
it's not a guarantee. You have
Vertical
maybe
launch
a
is the
50%
lead.
chance for every intercept to actually hit what the heck you're shooting at. Which means for every attacker, you need at least 2 defenders. Preferably 3 to 4 defenders fired at every attacking missile. This is why defending against the Soviets' arsenal was just impossible for us. We need an arsenal about 4 times the size of the Soviet arsenal just to defend against their missiles, let alone bombers, cruise missiles, submarine-launched missiles, and other forms of nuclear delivery systems that the Soviets had. However, in preparing for that, we have completely overkilled the North Korean threat. So we have hundreds of missiles currently on standby, waiting to intercept potential ex-Soviet missiles. And so that applies itself quite wonderfully to the threat of the Hwasong-15, which can now hit anywhere in the US. But because of that, we have those old defense systems in place from the Cold War. So Aegis is,
Zach, just keep an eye on your time.
yeah, how much more time do I have?
You've got another 5 minutes.
I really gotta hurry up.
Well, I guess one thing that I would say
Yeah.
is I don't want you to totally neglect the part where you kind of can talk to us about the impact of the experience.
Yep. Yeah,
Okay?
I'll
I
get
just
to
don't
that.
want you to
Yep.
leave that piece out.
So Aegis is used mainly for intercepting missiles or ICBMs during its mid-course. That is when the missile is actually in space, coming back down to Earth, or during its descent and terminal phase. But once it's close to a target, there's not much you can do. That's when we use THAAD. That's the most commonly talked about missile defense system that we have because it's the newest one. We have deployed it in South Korea, and it's currently on standby for any potential North Korean strikes. And it's great for things in the terminal stage of their flight. But you really can't reach up into the atmosphere that high relative to Aegis, and its range is quite limited. Also, that is guided almost exclusively by its own radar systems. It can't use satellites for the most part. So it's limited primarily to the radar horizon in its range. While an upgraded version of the THAAD is in progress, the THAAD-ER, which can reach into space, we aren't currently there yet. Now, for the most boring one, the PAC-3, this has been in use for a while now. We used it during Operation Iraqi Freedom, or was it? Yeah, Iraqi Freedom. There we go. Operation. Making sure I'm saying the right things. It's combat proven. It was used to shoot rockets out of the air when they were coming towards American infantry. We can use it, but it can only hit stuff during its terminal phase. This is when the warhead is already detached from the missile itself. If you're hitting something in the terminal phase, you're kind of worried about getting nuked. So we would prefer to hit things, the Aegis of that, before they enter the terminal phase, and the warhead detaches from the missile. So this is the mid-course missile defense system of the homeland. That's the stuff I was already talking about as far as the things that are based on the continental US. This is some crazy stuff. I have a really, really short video that I'm going to show just because I am pretty much out of time. But these things are so cool. They're MKVs, multiple kill vehicles, and the way they work is essentially they are shot up into space on our interceptors. On our intercept missiles, and their job is to fly and literally crash into nuclear warheads in space. So they're highly maneuverable. We launch them on our interceptors, and if you have a nuclear warhead going over here, and you have this MKV that'll literally just smash right into it. The reason we don't send warheads to detonate on other warheads is because while it does a lot of damage, it probably won't destroy it and will most likely just throw it off course. Now you have a rogue nuclear warhead. Not very good. So that's why we use typically kinetic kill systems, in that we have to actually smash something physically heavy into the missile itself. This has been kind of compared to shooting a bullet with another bullet, but way harder and literally in space. So this is a huge technical challenge, but we've successfully done it a number of times now, at least in practice. So my project mainly focused on the sciencey aspects. I did go over some war scenarios as to what war would look like in a conventional situation where no nukes were used, unconventional warfare where biological, chemical, and nuclear warheads were allowed, and what would happen is we preemptively took a strike at North Korea. I will shorten it. Conventional warfare, we win. Unconventional warfare, that sucks for everyone because now it's a nuclear wasteland. And preemptive strike, we just started World War III because China's going to get involved. And if China gets involved, so will their nuclear arsenal. So we can't do a preemptive strike for fear of China defending North Korea. If North Korea instigates something, China is not stupid, they're not suicidal. They're not going to, and again, I did a lot of research into this, I can talk about this for days, but I clearly can't. China will not defend a belligerent nuclear North Korea from a world superpower because North Korea got a little blood hungry as to a regional rivalry with the Seven Brethren, right? It would be stupid. Our economies are too heavily intertwined. They would suffer losses in the millions. We would suffer losses in the millions. We'd crash the world economy, potentially start a nuclear war. It would not be worth it. So we do not need to worry about China getting involved heavily in a direct way, as long as we do not